to Demystifying Myths, Return to Oneness. This is our 7th event of the Embracing Oneness program through Global Cooperation hosts. The Brahma Kumaris are our hosts in London. So it's my wonderful privilege and honor to welcome back Sr Jenna, who many of you know from America Meditating radio program, and she's the coordinator of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museums in Washington, D.C. And she's going to be our moderator host today and bring Sr Jayanti, who many of you know as the administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris globally, the additional administrative head, with Bishop Carlton Pearson. And I've read about and listened to Bishop Carlton Pearson, who's written about the gospel of inclusion, but I haven't had the opportunity to meet him, but I know Sr Jenna has. So I'm going to turn it over to Sr Jenna for more introduction of our speakers and to get started on the program. The chat box is open, so if you have questions or comments along the way, please, please share them. And Sr Jenna, over to you for our opening dialogue.
Thank you. It was such a great introduction, and Om Shanti, everyone. You know, I've been appreciating the times that we're in, where you put so much energy into things and you've got the best of motives and the best of feelings, and the universe is in charge and it has a way of making it even better than you planned it. Today's program is very near and dear to my heart because one of the things that I've believed in this incarnation of mine is the power of inclusion and the power of diversity. I think the fact that I come from a background of being blessed by being half Indian, half African, Caribbean, being raised in America, I kind of look at the world like this. You know, I look at it like this. And for the life of me, I can never understand why people do this and sort of put themselves in like very specific tribes. And personally, and this is only my story, I feel like it's such a loss of life to lose out on this when you're just living like this. And I think today's conversation is about demystifying all of these ideas that have separated and divided us so much, when there's so much pleasure and beauty in becoming one with our diversity, becoming one with the fact that we are different and we are our own people. You know, we've got one teacher, the one above, and yet we're all so different. And I think today's conversation will be how to make that connection, that I can honor my difference and I can honor the difference of someone, but we can do it as one. So today, my pleasure is to introduce our friends. I think it's our pleasure to introduce two amazing individuals that I have the privilege of knowing. One in particular who I've known from a teenager, Sr Jayanti, who has now taken on a big role in the Brahma Kumaris. I would call her one of the spiritual pillars of the Brahma Kumaris, which is an organization that sustains over 1 million students in 120 countries. And that's not a small feat. And being able to spiritually guide over 9,000 centers, I'm going to throw it out to you. Can you do that? And so I think that it's because of the way she steps into a space where she carries the energy of God's light and God's presence. And she's given her entire breath and life to God's path. And so she's definitely proven to me and to the millions that she's served that the proof that I love God is that I'm on service 24/7. So she's been a teacher of Raj Yoga for over 40 years, and she's carrying with her the experience of very subtle mystical experiences, which I don't necessarily feel she'll be ever able to articulate fully in words, but you'll be able to see it in her actions, in her behavior, in her presence. That's what you will witness today. I'm not sure if my friend Bishop Carlton Pearson has come on yet. Has he gotten on yet? He was having a little bit of issue. He's in Atlanta, but we'll get him on. Bishop Carlton Pearson has a track record in America and around the world where he was next in line to take over Oral Roberts' ministry. For those of you who know Oral Roberts, it was the largest Pentecostal movement in America. And where he was the presiding pastor over 50, 60, 80,000 people on Sunday morning. This is way back 30 years ago, which was huge. He started to have his own spiritual awakening. And his spiritual awakening was telling him, I don't believe Jesus puts you to hell. I don't believe to be gay is hell. I don't believe that Jesus really is going to turn his back on us if we're not able to pick ourselves up after a mistake. So he's a progressive spiritual teacher now, a thought leader, sacred activist, humanist, and peace agent. He's the author of The Gospel, The Inclusion, and has received a number of honorary doctorate awards from various universities. Bishop Pearson is now developing a multicultural, radically inclusive Metacostal online cyber community, which will be reaching millions. His mandate is to help enhance the possibilities of peace on our planet. Bishop Pearson's life story serves as the basis for the Netflix original award-winning movie entitled Come Sunday, which actually highlights his personal journey. Check it out. It's a really nice story. So during our retreat on Demystyfying Myths, Return to Oneness, we will explore the deeper dimensions of ourself, the core of our true identity, to help us understand the spiritual interconnectedness with all human souls. So let me start off with my spiritual mentor and someone who I look up to purely from my heart, not because of the role of authority or power that she wields, but just because of the person that she represents as God's child so beautifully and so sweetly, Sr Jayanti. Welcome, Sr Jayanti. Om Shanti. Thank you for joining us today, all the way from India.
Om Shanti. It's lovely to be with you, Jenna, and all the others that I'm seeing on the screen.
Lovely. So I'd like to start by asking you a big question. And Jayanti Ben, it's interesting. You've known me for a very long time. And in the teachings of Raj Yoga meditation, we are given the gift of self-exploration. And I have to say that even after the journey that I've been on, there are still pockets in me I just can't figure out. So when we talk about the concept of self, what does that mean to you, Sr Jayanti?
It's a very, very deep, profound question. And I'm looking back to the time that I had my first introduction to what is this inner being. And it was such a beautiful experience because I was told that thoughts and feelings, personality, memories, everything is within this infinitesimal star, this little point of light that resides here in the center of the forehead. And I began to feel it. I was very fortunate that it was an immediate experience. And then when I was walking back to my grandmother's home, I was in Pune, visiting her for a while. And walking back, it was about 15, 20 minutes walk back to where she lived. I got home and I couldn't remember how I'd done the journey. Did I fly? I was there one moment, next moment I was here. So that was my first very, very powerful experience that, yes, I have this physical form, but that's not me. The inner being, this being of light, is really who I am. And today also, when I want to go deep inside, I just have to connect with this inner being that's shining up here. And I begin to understand how I am a being of peace. I carry God's qualities within myself because I'm a child of God. And just as the face of a child reflects the face of parents, you'll say that, you know, the eyes are like the mother's, the nose is like the father, and whatever else. But in the same way, the soul is carrying God's qualities as its birthright, as its inheritance. And so when I come to this awareness of the inner being, I can feel all of those qualities within the self. And no matter how great the storm may be or how noisy the chaos around me can be, just going back to myself and feeling this inner peace and power is such a blessed experience. And it's available freely for everyone, just within a moment, one thought, and you go inside, connect, and all those treasures become available. What I didn't know at that time was there's something else below those treasures. And that is all the record of everything that I've done up until now. And so sometimes those things come up. There have been moments of anger, there's been moments of attachment, there's been moments of ego. And so when they come up, then it brings you back down to earth with a bang. And so then you have to connect with the one above and say, help. And the help is always there, always available. And when I experience that help coming, then I know that it's okay. Yes, these things are also part of the story that I carry within myself, but with help from above, I can deal with it. And yes, there's anger, but it's okay. And if I can learn from my past experiences and learn that instead of anger, love is a better way to move forward and is going to achieve better results also. And you start experimenting with that, and you keep reminding yourself of that, and you find that the anger begins to dissipate. And today, 90%, maybe 95%, then you can say that, yes, I know what is anger, but with help from above, I've been able to deal with most of it. And touch wood, having said this, I know there'll be a challenge, maybe in a few hours, maybe tomorrow, and it's going to pop up somewhere, but hopefully not in that fearsome form that it came way back. And if it does pop up, then I'll say, okay, thanks for reminding me that you're still there. And I just need to practice more and more the awareness of this being of light, and I'll deal with you. So not angry with anger, not angry with myself, but just loving and compassionate and knowing that victory is my birthright. It's going to happen. I'm going to be able to say goodbye to all of these old friends and say, well, cheerio, I'll see you when I see you, but not for now.
So true and so beautifully said. You know, it's interesting because everything you've said sounds so simple. And I don't know if you recall in your early days or even now, decades later, it gets, what's the best word? Maybe you can help me. It's more subtle. It takes on a form where now you have to check the thought behind the thought, behind that thought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets so much subtler, and you're just wondering, when do I actually feel that sentient part of myself? So as a part of our human global family, how important is it, Sister Jayanti, to know who we are? I mean, how important is it for the globe, for the world of humanity, for people in our world to start to do this homework assignment on self?
Let's look at it the other way. And because generally, I know probably speaking to people on this channel now, I'm speaking to those who are already converted and are already doing that inner work. But I hope there are also some who are watching a spiritual type of program for the first time, maybe, or just checking us out, whatever. But what happens is that for the vast majority of people in the world, I'd say 90% of the people of the world, they're so locked into the physical identity. And it creates such a huge sense of insecurity. I know that this was true for myself, but I know that this is true for those people who haven't started this inner work, this inner journey. And why we have this sense of insecurity, it's because, you know, if I'm proud of how I look, well, I also know that anything can change that any minute. I can start getting spots, I can start putting on weight, I can whatever. I can start growing old either gracefully or not so gracefully, but I can't hang on to that. I can't say I'm going to be beautiful forever. I associate myself with my culture, the tradition in which I was born, but I'm now in a multicultural society. And so how do I deal with others who feel that their culture or their background is the most elevated, the most beautiful of all? And so you see the color, age, appearance, position, possessions. We judge somebody by the car they drive, the size of the home they live in, all of these things. But all of these things are so temporary. And there'll always be someone more beautiful than me. And so where maybe I felt superior at one point, now I feel inferior. And so this fluctuation of insecurity constantly goes on. And even I just spoke about the anger earlier, but the ego, the anger, the greed, the attachments, they're all connected. When I'm connecting my identity with this skin of mine, this body of bones and flesh. And it's a hard life. And the way in which I treat others, of course, is the way in which I see myself. I'm insecure myself. And so my insecurity pops up in terms of relationship with others. And so sometimes I'm higher than you, sometimes I'm lower than you. And in either case, I'm not warm and human with you, because there's all of these things, grievances from the past that keep coming in and all sorts of stories. And so when I knew I was a soul, I thought it was beautiful liberation. Coming to the awareness of this inner being, I'm free from all the limitations and all the boxes that this body implies. Female, now aging. No, the body is female. The soul is everything. It has all qualities. It has feminine qualities. It has the positive masculine qualities, everything. And so because I'm liberated from all those boxes, and also I now have self-esteem and dignity, that means I can treat you with dignity and self-esteem also. Otherwise, I can't. How I treat myself is how I treat others. And because I don't love myself with all those fears and insecurities floating around, I don't love myself. I don't love you. You know, there's this amazing expression in the Testament, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. But we don't love ourselves, and so we don't love our neighbors. But when I begin to love myself, I can begin to love my neighbors also.
Love that. And that's what we need more of, Sister Jayanti. We need more of this ability to step out of this insecurity that we're walking around with. And the irony is how we think we're concealing it from each other. And in reality, you can see the behavior of the insecurity in each other by the fact that we sometimes just don't have the capacity to really respect the other one. Anyway, I'd like to move over to our wonderful Bishop Carlton Pearson, and I'm going to ask our beautiful tech team to put his picture up. He's having real massive technical problems, but thank God to a telephone, we have him on here. So Bishop Carlton Pearson, welcome, and we're glad that you could join us today.
Good morning, my precious Jenna. Please forgive all my technical instabilities.
It's okay. It's okay. We totally understand what's going on in the world today. Whether they say Mercury is in retrograde, and I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Yeah. Anyway, Sister Jayanti is also on. I'd love for you to give her a very warm hello and welcome.
Peace and blessings, Sister Jenny. I would love to see your beautiful face as well. I'm glad to be in the same space you are spiritually right now and mystically, to be able to talk to the whole world together.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I have a question for you, Bishop Pearson. We hear a lot today about oneness and how we are all one, which some may say are trite expressions now. But could you elaborate a little bit with us about what do you interpret as an expression of oneness?
Well, I call it universalism. Uni meaning uno, one in Latin, one verse, version, or versification of the whole. I am a verse of you, and you are a verse or version of me. A different version, a more unique version, but I'm talking to part of the verse that I am in the earth. So we are all versions. You never meet anybody but yourself. And so when I think of oneness spiritually, we are all of the same essence. That is our permanent rather than our accidental self. The permanent self is the air, the mist, time, the esoteric realities that are beyond or metaphysically discerned. And when we get into that vein, we realize that we're actually talking to an essence of ourself, an image of ourself. And that then you immediately sense the love and receive the love, and that ignores all other ethnicities, nationalities, gender, even religion. There's something that has transcended all of that. We don't ignore it, but it doesn't become a hindrance to our sense of the overall powerful expression of our reality on this plane or planet.
Wow, powerful. I love the way that you put the words and the ideas together. You've been on a path that has been a truthful path for you, Bishop Pearson. It's very rare that you can have the power that you had as a pastor of such a mega church, moving into such movements of serving lives in many ways. And you had your own spiritual awakening and things just changed. They changed. Tell us a little bit about that transformation when the energy of God's light more entered your being and the scripture didn't seem that important. And how did that move you more towards oneness?
Well, I'm a classical Pentecostal, fourth generation classical Pentecostal preacher. In Pentecost, there's a certain transcendence that puts you outside of the normal physics. And I love that part of it, but it was tainted and jaded by religious dogma and doctrine. And that hindered me from having the freedom to identify with the rest of the humans on the planet as one or as equal. Yeah. When I had this evolution by seeing poor people starving in Africa, and I'm sitting with my little fat chick baby. She's now 25, and she was just an infant in my lap, and I'm watching it on television. The Hutus and Tutsis were returning from Rwanda to Uganda, and I saw the hopelessness, the disparity in their face, the baby with the distended stomachs, and they were starving. And in my Christian mentality, I said, God, how can you let those poor people die and then go straight to hell? Because I had this huge hell concept of God creating a customized torture chamber. I don't believe any of that anymore, but as you know, sister, but I was thinking that, and I just started complaining to quote unquote God. And that's when I began to hear thoughts or have thoughts that said, why are you telling people that we do this, that we torture people? And I started having this conversation basically with myself, but all the memories of the things that have been imparted me. And it changed that very day. Mm-hmm. I thought, the only hell there is the one we create for ourselves and for each other. And maybe the only heaven there is the one that we create and believe in for ourselves. And that it extends beyond this reach or this region of consciousness, which is Earth. And so it took a while, and I lost, a lot of friends, and I lost. Now I'm back with that group as far as invitations, they're now saying, tell me more, Bishop. We like what you're saying. We want that same freedom. And that mysticism. That's when I met Michael Beckwith, and I got started hanging with Neil Donald Walsh and people like that, and Ian Levon Zant and people like that became close friends of mine. And they helped guide me through because they had been through similar transitions. I'm telling you, Sister Jenna, there are millions of people that are awakening, and they are saying, I'm not sure where I'm going, but I know where I've been isn't where I'm supposed to be permanently. What's next? The universe upgrading the human species. It is correcting itself, clearing itself, cleaning itself. All this global warming, all of these upheavals, there is no evolution without dissolution. Certain things are dissolving right in front of us. Whole cultures, from politics to religion to economy. There's a shift going on, and people's eyebrows are raised. They're having to rethink what they believe, why they believe it, and how those beliefs add to or subtract from the quality of their lives. I'm approaching my 70th birthday, and I'm rethinking everything and receiving differently. I've never been more excited about it. I would not have met you, precious spirit, if I had not made that shift. Then here comes people and energies like you into my life. It seems like you've been here always, because that's the oneness. I've always known you. You've always been a version of me. I've always been a version of you. And our other dear Sister Jenna that's on here, we are all one, and we're awakening to that powerful reality. Then we don't feel alienated and isolated, and we don't feel a sense of lack.
Yeah. Right now I've heard that one of the most Googled words recently has been God and prayer. Sister Jayanti, if it's possible, because I know that you have committed completely your life to the divine, is there a way that you could share with us and Bishop Pearson not only the deep form, introduction, interpretation of God that we can all embrace, but how to maintain the connection and the link to this divine? People are searching now, Bishop Pearson and Sister Jayanti, they are searching now for this energy from above. But I think there's been a little bit of a glitch in how to incorporate it in our everyday life. Could you share, Sister Jayanti, and then Bishop Pearson, I'll come to you on that.
Okay.
Well, first I want to thank Bishop Pearson for the very eloquent, beautiful way that you've been explaining various ideas. And I remember that there was a time, I think, when I was between 14 and 18, and I just wasn't getting any answers from anyone who was a leader within Hinduism or Christianity, people I was meeting. Questions that I had were just being not answered. And so I thought, okay, I'm not going to worry about this now. I'll come back to all of this later when I'm 60. I was 14, but I was very fortunate. I came to spend time in India to connect with my roots. And this is when I was 18. And that experience that I shared just a few minutes earlier of the inner being, the being of light, having had that lesson as part of my meditation course, when they spoke about in the second lesson, this being who is also the supreme, but yet has the form which is the same, just an infinitesimal being of light. And within that is everything, the ocean. The ocean is merged within that infinitesimal point of light, the ocean of peace, of love, of truth, of wisdom, of compassion, of joy, of purity, all the positive attributes that you want to list. But that's just words. When I sat in that awareness of this inner being, and I'd understood in theory the concept of the divine, I was just lifted away from here right into another dimension. And that experience of this meeting with the divine was filled with such love and joy that I wanted to keep it all the time. And of course, then you come back again down to earth and you sort out things in your life and whatever else. But this feeling of love and joy stayed with me for months. And then there came a time when I left India to come back to London, and the harsh reality of the climate of London hit me. But I knew that early in the morning, I would wake up, and my mother was a meditator, so that was a lovely support. So we would both rise very early and sit in silence, both of us in remembrance of the divine. And that same love and joy was available consistently every single time. And when I went through the peaks and valleys of my journey later on, the peaks were filled with gratitude, and the valleys, well, I know you're there, and I know you want to help me, and I just have to open my heart and let you in. And so at that moment, then I would remember that, yes, that love and joy is waiting for me. And so I think this consistency in practice, that's very, very important. Even if you're not having fantastic experiences every time, no problem. It's okay. It's okay. But just be consistent with your practice, whatever time you have fixed for yourself, whatever place you have fixed for yourself, go to that place, sit for 10 minutes, sit for half an hour, whatever it is. But my consistency means that I'm building up a pattern inside myself in which this is what I know I have to do, and I do it, and I get the results. And so don't wait for mystical experiences. They'll come when they come. And if they don't come, it's okay. Just to keep my thoughts aligned to God, just to make sure that I'm spending time with myself in silence and time with my beloved, the Supreme, in silence also, so that that being can reach me and is able to touch me and help me and guide me and take me forward. And so I think that have a consistent practice to keep that flame of love shining, but also when it's not so easy, then just know that help is available. And so don't lose your faith at that moment. Just hang on to that total faith that yes, the one above knows me personally and is going to find a way to reach me so that I can be carried forward. And so these two things I would recommend. I don't want to give a bigger lecture, but I hope this is helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. The whole thing really, Carlton, is about not only forging the connection to Source, to God. You know, I call God Baba. And you know that this energy of God is available, but we're so distracted and we don't keep it consistent. Tell us a little bit about, what's the best way we can maintain this relationship, this connection with God, and help to make this world a better place so we can be more at one with each other.
Well, I think everybody on the planet has two senses. One thing, they know they're okay. They know they're God or godly or divine, but they don't believe it. The way I've maintained my connection with the divine is I had to transcend beliefs and listen to the memory of my soul and of my cells and of my psyche. I remember we all come here knowing, but between the womb and the tomb, we forget what we know and start believing what we're told, and that's where we get confused. Our soul and our cells remember the pre-incarnate reality in which we existed before we were incarnated as human beings. And that's why this lust for drugs and conscious altering experiences that people use around the planet. They're always trying to find that ethereal reality that relaxes the self and soul. And we use it through various forms of sorcery or pharmacy, that's in Greek, they're the same words, medicines, drugs. But in our spirit, we already are there. We we have adopted these other forms. It could be caffeine, it could be sugar, or a big piece of chocolate cake. I've used all that. But when I'm really in when I go deep within, so I don't have to go without, I find what I'm looking for is already there in me, as me, reminding me. Sometimes tragedies occur that thrusts us into our spirituality at a level that calmness doesn't. That's why sometimes natural disasters occur, and strange things occur that snap our attention to another reality where there's hope. And every time I get too insensitive to my soul, some life experience occurs that makes me reconsider what I believe, and it takes me back to ground zero, where I am. And all of us, all over the world, people are now, because over the next 50 to 100 years, religion as we've experienced will dissipate and disappear and be replaced with a new spiritual paradigm, which has already started. And awakening occurring across the planet puts a smile in our soul. People are starting to smile. They're not absolutely sure why, but they know something good is happening, something good is occurring, something good is existing. And it just makes us all relate.
You know, I love you saying that, because if you watch mainstream media, you would think the world is going into hell in a handbasket. And yeah, we are seeing people smiling more, knowing that there's a spiritual renewal taking place on our planet and inside of ourselves. I want to turn to both of you in one thing, and I know we're going to open up for questions, and I know, Carlton, you've got to run off in Atlanta to do your spiel. But silence, silence is big for me. And I'm sure many of our viewers who are tuning in have recognized the power of silence can create so much beauty and power. And I'm not talking about silence that I don't speak up because I see some atrocity happening. That's not the silence I'm talking about. I'm talking about the inner stillness, be still and know that I am God, silence. Sr Jayanti, speak to us about this power of silence, and what can we do to enhance it more so that it also does the work in the renewal of the spiritual awakening we're witnessing?
When I sit quietly and I let my mind become quiet, which doesn't mean stopping thoughts, but it does mean channeling my thoughts to the awareness of that inner being, the soul, and my relationship with the divine. When I do this, my thoughts become much, much slower, and there's more space between the thoughts. And that space is a time for experience. And so sometimes there's the experience of love, sometimes there's the experience of joy, sometimes pure silence. And in a very conscious way, what I need to do is to, maybe if that moment of silence has been just a few seconds, it's okay. But can I very consciously focus my thoughts and keep moving them in the right direction so that that space of silence continues to grow? And the more I do this, the more adept I become at managing my thoughts and my mind, and the sweeter and deeper the experience of silence can be. And yes, I absolutely believe that the transformation of the whole planet, and Bishop Pearson is putting it beautifully in terms of how on the one side there's the collapse, the dissolution, and on the other side there's the evolution. Well, I think that we are moving very quickly into that space in which the highest potential of every human soul will be that which is manifest here on earth. And so the power of silence for myself personally to make that transition is important, but the power of silence is going to contribute to the transformation of the planet as a whole, so that more and more people are aware and come back to this awareness of the divine. because so often, certainly in a place like England, maybe in America or other places, it's a bit different. I know that the Latin countries, South America, but also Spain and Portugal and Italy, you can talk about God freely. But in England, still today, it's not such an easy subject to bring up. And so the vibrations of our silence can surely change that atmosphere and climate so that more and more people are ready to talk about the divine, and then further to be able to experiment with silence and bring that experience into their life. And then thirdly, I know that people out there who maybe have been looking for God and haven't been able to have an experience, the power of our silence can touch them and they're able to move forward in their own journey. And fourthly, last one, I think the power of our silence can also reach out to all living creatures and the elements of nature to transform their awareness and their instinct in a very, very subtle way, so that the lion and lamb will learn to live together and drink water at the same pool, and the elements such as the water, the earth, the fire, all of them will come back to align with us so that there's harmony between people and with each other, but also with humans, with all living creatures, and even nature itself. The elements of nature become our friends. At the moment, they're very angry with us, but we can make them our friends with the power of silence.
Wasn't that beautiful by Sister Jayanti? I just felt
Yes,
that, what,
yes.
yeah, it was so beautiful. You know, she nailed what silence can do and what it does. And our world has become very noisy. What's your final sharing about the importance of this power of stillness within? How do we acquire it?
Well, I often sit and put my hands on both ears, and I hear the sound of the blood coursing through my veins. There's 100,000 miles of veins in us and arteries, and enough to circle the globe 4 times. I'm about to get on an elevator, and in that hum, I hear my soul whispering and reconnecting me to my. I hope I don't get lost on this elevator because I have to be on stage in 2 minutes. And I feel the hum and the wholeness of who I am in that silence. The only thing I hear is the hum of the life blood in me coursing through my veins. And to every extremity of my body, I connect with the divine, which life is in the blood. Scripture. Did I lose you?
No, I got you. I have you.
Oh, and that shuts out all the other noise. There's beyond the noise, and the nausea, there is a sound. That word in Greek is akos, where we get the English word echo. And an echo is a sound out of the past. It reconnects you with your original essence or the idea that spawned our existence on this plane net, this planet of consciousness. And everybody has that capacity. It's not hard. It's just listening and learning how to shut out the nausea or the noise of the lower energies of humanity.
Beautiful. Bishop Carlton Pearson, you know, we've got to get you back on, and when you're not in such high demand. But I want to just say, I think on behalf of Sister Jayanti, myself, and the entire team, and all the people that are listening in and watching in today, we thank you from the bottom of our heart for making it happen and making us feel you and be a part of your consciousness and your ability to bring us together. So thank you so, so much.
I love you dearly. You know that. I'm absolutely delighted to hear this energy coming from our precious sister all the way in India. Can you believe this? This is live and all around. I bless you all, and thank you. Let's do it again soon. Peace and
Yes.
blessing to.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
See, everyone, we had to somehow find a way to get him on and to put it all together despite his technical issues. What a lot that was shared just now between Sister Jayanti and Bishop Carlton Pearson. It's like it's something that I want to just listen over when I'm not in a Zoom room. I just want to play it back over and hear what they both said, which really just might be the tool, not even might be, but I really deeply think it's the tool to bring us together and to put a cease or a reduction to conflict and divisiveness. So I know we're at that point where we can perhaps ping Sister Genti's intellect more and ask her some questions. So Dave or Nina, any one of you would like to come up and maybe capture some questions that came through? These were some provocative sharings from both powerful beings that are using God's energy, that are using Baba's light to serve, to make the world a better place. So I'm going to pass it on to some of you who might have some questions. Please.
Yes, there are some questions, and there is just one that has just come up, so I'll just read it. I can remember being called into oneness in the midst of the 1990s and hearing the sound of Sister Jayanti in the voice of Bishop Pearson. Now that's interesting. Now reminding of the power that I find in silence. This is the way of return indeed. So this is a beautiful comment from one of our listeners. Isn't that interesting? Do you want to say anything on that, or should I move on to the next question?
Sister Jayanti, any sharing?
Okay, thank you. So the next one is, Dear Sister Jayanti and Bishop Pearson, I'm so keen to share the happiness that I feel with as many people as possible. However, how can I go beyond the barrier that some souls put up in the guise of it is not in the Quran or the Bible, etc.? So that's the question.
I think friendship, keeping friends with people who are from a different tradition than myself is so important. And to be able to get to know them a little bit more, to understand where it is they're coming from. I think that friendship is going to be the way that will open the door for more honest, open communication rather than just what is the written word.
Thank you, Sister Jayanti. And the next question I have here is, I listen to a lot of music, and I wonder if that is keeping me from hearing my inner wisdom. As I go about my morning, run errands, drive the car, wash dishes, I usually put on music or a podcast. Should I practice more silence outside of my meditation time? That's a beautiful one, isn't it?
Well, thank you for your honesty in sharing this, because I think we all find it much easier just to keep listening rather than activate our own inner consciousness and use that as a tool to move forward. So it's great that you're making time in the morning for meditation, but I would recommend that you give yourself spaces of silence away from music and podcasts, just to be able to digest something further, something new, and experiment with something further.
Beautiful, beautiful. There aren't any other questions for the moment, Sister Jenna, so you might want to just continue the dialogue with Sister Jayanti.
Sure, and I know that we're coming to a close shortly as well. Sister Jayanti, the life and the the life that we're all living right now, sometimes I feel like we could do so much better. And despite being on a path of spirituality or being super, super wealthy, or maybe struggling to pay the bills, is there a neutral point? Is there something that we can tap into that can just make it feel more valuable?
And just after that question, there's another question that's just come online. So if you don't mind. Yeah.
Sure.
I think if I stay connected with this inner being that I am, I recognize my own inner qualities and my value. And when I recognize that, then I say thank you. Lots of love and gratitude to the one who has blessed me with these qualities and continues to fill me with more and more. So not to get distracted by the things outside when they're challenging and difficult, it's okay. Take a few moments and connect with yourself and the one above, and you'll find that there's a huge amount of light and love that reaches you and helps you deal with the situations that are challenging and difficult. And if you happen to be in a situation of comfort, again, just take that moment to connect and to share that light with the world so that others may also come to that experience of comfort in their life, so that it's not just me saying, thank you, Lord, but I'm also sending out that vibration of God's love to all the people. 80% of the world's population need something more. And I'm talking about physical sustenance, and it's a huge, huge gap between those who have and those who don't have. And those who have, lots of gratitude, but a big and open heart to share just through God's light, but also whatever else it is I can do. And if I don't have, to know that it's going to be okay. The one above is watching over me, and things are going to turn out fine.
Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that one. Nina, what was that other question
Yes,
that
so
you
there
had?
are two questions actually, and I'm not sure which one you might want to take first, so I'll read them out, both of them. So the first one is, there are myths of who we are that Bishop and Sister Jayanti unpacked, but could some more be said about the cultural myths we learn from and how we discern what is beneficial and what might be problematic? So just hold that one, and then I read the next one. When I already have decided to change my past, how do I know that I'm doing the right thing? Thank you. So those are two questions. One about those myths that we've taken on board as truth. Okay.
I'd like to deal with the second one first, because I think that that's relevant to everyone, absolutely everyone. If I've had a deeper understanding of what's going on within myself, and I've been able to experience through my own experimentation and practice this awareness of the inner being and the connection with the divine, then let me follow the guidance that I'm being given through spiritual teachings. And those teachings are universal teachings. And so as I follow those through in my life, I will feel the benefit reaching me and my life becoming more meaningful. My understanding of purpose will become clearer, and I'll be able to keep connecting, and I'll be able to see if truly there is positive transformation in my life. I know myself, and so I know when things are changing. But probably I'll also get a lot of feedback from my family, and they'll also tell me that, yes, you're much softer, you're much gentler than you used to be a year ago or even a month ago. So hopefully I'll be getting good feedback from those I love around me. And the thing about this understanding of what is right, what is a myth, I think that the clarity that comes with meditation really sharpens, it hones the awareness that I have, so that my capacity to discern becomes that much more powerful. You know, it's like if there's a jeweler who's got one of those special, it's not just a magnifying glass, but it's an eyeglass through which you can see the jewel and see what are the flaws or faults in that jewel. Meditation provides me with that inner capacity to be able to discern and to see what it is that's real and what it is that's human construct, because there is so much human construct in so many different ways that we slip up on or we get stuck to. And so I think my own meditation will sharpen my skill in being able to discern.
Sister Jayanti, you know, I was remembering many, many years ago, I was sharing in an event with Madeleine Albright. She was former Secretary of State in the U.S. And we were invited to talk about the issues in Africa. And there was something that Madeleine Albright said, which I've not forgotten. And it goes to the question, Nina. She said, "Don't tell me it's cultural, it is criminal." And what she meant by putting it all in context was, if you're going to impart suffering or pain on anyone and you're telling me it's cultural, you must recognize at that moment that is no longer your culture. It is a criminal behavior. And there was something about that, Sister Jayanti. It has stayed in me for over 20 years because she was right.
Yeah.
She was right.
Absolutely.
All right, so what a wonderful day we've had. This is a great way to start the morning in Washington, D.C., or on the East Coast in the United States of America, but also in the UK, it is the afternoon. In India and in other places, it's in the evening. What a wonderful way to really be in this retreat. And as I come to a close, and I never ever want to say goodbye to you, Sister Jayanti, but if there was anything that if someone could only walk away with one thing from this retreat today, what would you want that to be for them?
I would like each one to experience the light that's shining within, that they themselves are, and see each human being in the same way as that shining star. Don't see anything else, just see that light that's shining in the center of the forehead. It's an amazing practice, very simple, but highly effective.
Yes, and if I may just add a few things that people have just said about their experience today. This has been a most inspiring discussion. I feel lighter about it. And there is another one that says the children born today embody a truer knowing in greater magnitude, in congruence with the world that they have come to. They are prepared. How do we bridge a truer connection between the children of the world that is and the one to come in the next 50 to 100 years, using silence? That is beautiful. And so perhaps that's a question that we could mull on during the course of our workshops.
Yeah, it's
For
a
the
beautiful
next half.
question.
Yes, it is.
It's a beautiful question. Sister Jayanti, our hearts are full. We thank you for offering so much of what you've taken from God naturally through your being and through your words. And I hope I have permission from the team, but I can't say goodbye without you guiding us in a little meditation of stillness and oneness. If that's okay with you, can you offer that before we say goodbye?
Firstly, I just want to thank all the team that's been working hard to put this together, and it's been a beautiful experience for me. So thank you. And yes, I'd love to share for just a couple of minutes a meditation in oneness. Going deep inside, connecting with myself, I feel the shining light that I am. And in this awareness, I connect with the one above. I'm from the source, the divine, the being who brings light to the world, emanates light that reaches out into the whole world. And this light connects us in the awareness of eternal love and truth. This light carries us to a different dimension. So together, we create a better world for all. Om Shanti, a greeting of peace to all. Thank you.